Hey guys, how's it going? Ryan Potter here with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate, aka Realtor Potter. And today I wanted to encourage you guys just with something that kind of came to me last night. My son woke up at like 3:30 in the morning, and then I couldn't fall back asleep. And some of these thoughts kind of started going through my mind. And so I got up and I wrote them down, and I wanted to share them with you today because I think it'll be relevant to where we're all at, and kind of encourage us, challenge us, and maybe inspire us a little bit. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about failure. And I know that's going to seem weird, but I think we hear that word sometimes and we think of it as a negative term. You know, we think of failure and we think of all the negative things that come with it. But I kind of want to challenge you to think of it a little bit differently. Maybe it's failure that has to happen in order for us to be successful. And what I mean by that is I think about a lot of the people and successful people out there that have been made it to the top, or have been well known as, you know, whether it's financially or athletically or professionally in their jobs. But some names that kind of come to mind when I think about that stuff, I think of Steve Jobs. You know, obviously he's best known for being at Apple and doing all the great things there, but he was kind of the poster child of making a lot of mistakes, and sometimes being and being the poster child of basically saying, hey, when it comes to mistakes, that can be sometimes the best thing that happens to you. So he's kind of that poster child for that, because if you know anything about Steve Jobs, and if you've seen the movie and all those things, you start realizing that he failed a lot in order to become who he was at the end and before he passed away and all that kind of stuff. Another name that comes to mind is Michael Jordan. You know, we all know the story. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. He was drafted third overall in the draft, not number one, and it took him 7 years to get his first title. But once he got that title, we all know what happened. He ended up with 6, and he's also known as the GOAT, the greatest of all time. But I think we've got LeBron James and some others maybe coming up there to maybe compete with that. But I'll let that be another conversation for another day. And then when I think about spiritually and things like that, I think of Peter. You know, we look at Peter and we know a lot of the things that took place with him when he was there in the Bible and with Jesus and after Jesus. And you know, the first thing that comes to my mind is when he was in the middle of the storm with the disciples, and Jesus comes to them walking on water, and he calls for Peter. And what does Peter do? He gets out of the boat, and he starts walking on water until he finally sinks because he becomes afraid of the storm, and he starts doubting. But at least he made the effort, right? A lot of us would still be in the boat, and a lot of us wouldn't have got out because we would have started processing that a little bit and being like, we can't walk on water. You're calling us to do what? But Peter actually believed for a split second there that he could actually go out and meet Jesus. And he started to do it until he started to doubt and have that fear creep in. But he also later became what? He became the rock on which Christ would build his church. So he failed in numerous things as you read through Scripture, with the denial 3 times of Jesus and a lot of these other things. But he eventually became the rock on which the church will be built. So what's my point? My point is this: if you don't try and fail at what drives you to be better, something's wrong. And what I mean by that is, if we're not willing to try, knowing that there's a possibility of us failing, how are we going to get better at what we do, right? So how will we know in the areas on what we can improve on? And when I think about the problem in society today, I think this is one of the areas that we fail at as a society and as leaders and things like that, is we get too complacent. We get too comfortable knowing, not knowing that we have barely tapped into our full potential. And what I mean by that is, sometimes I think we need to take a leap of faith, take a step out there, not knowing what that final outcome is, but we take a risk and we take a step, and we journey into something that's normally called the unknown. And sometimes we end up finding that by taking that step, you know, we become more successful, more challenged, encouraged, inspired, and we reach a potential that we didn't think we had. and one of those things that I want to talk to you guys today about, I've had some people kind of ask me in my office about it, and some clients even asked me about it. But I recently got a coach, and what I mean by that is I got a coach. He is a broker in California. He's been in the business for 12 years, and the reason I did that was because I needed someone to push me outside of my comfort zone. I needed someone to challenge me on how I could evaluate my business plan and make it better. I needed someone to encourage me to try new things, and when I fail, help me grow and turn those failures into success stories. One person that comes to mind as well is Matt Ryan. I don't know if you guys have heard this story, but he's a quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. And just recently, there's been a story that came out with him where he's been constantly rewatching the Super Bowl of this past year. And a lot of people have criticized him for that. Like, why would you want to go back and relive the failure and the fact that you guys were up by so many and you ended up blowing your lead and giving it to the Patriots, and the Patriots eventually won the Super Bowl? What I look at from that when I hear that story is that's a winner in my book. And here's why. He realized that they failed. We all know that they failed and that the Patriots won and they became losers, right? But to me, I see someone who is hungry to take that failure and use it as motivation to achieve a goal, right? It's the same thing that some of these other people that I was just talking about did with the Steve Jobs and the Michael Jordan. They took their failures and they turned them into motivation to be successful, right? I think we hear the word mature a lot, and they just need to mature a little bit more, mature in their faith, mature in their knowledge of this, mature in whatever that may be. And what is maturing? Maturing is learning from your mistakes to not make the same mistakes over again, right? What if we looked at failure as the same thing? What if failure was just another stepping stone to reaching our full potential? That's one thing that just kept coming to my mind as I was laying on the couch trying to fall back asleep last night is what are the things that I've failed at recently that I can learn from and grow from and in the future potentially be more successful. And so another reason is why I got that coach. I needed to be pushed. I needed to be challenged a little bit. I didn't want to get complacent and comfortable in what I was doing with my business, but I wanted to start learning and doing new things, tapping into new things. And if I fail, I fail. One of the biggest things that you've probably seen throughout these videos and things is I only do one take. And for some people that may be scary and fearful, and for others they're like, I don't know how you do only one take. Well, I do one take because I want to be real and transparent with people, and if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. And I'm not fearful of making that mistake or doing those things, but at least I tried and I took the risk of doing it. And that's the whole point of doing this whole thing is overall, my goal is to educate my clients, is to grow my business, is to learn more about the industry and real estate, and to be a resource for those that need a resource for anything in their needs and things like that. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm not afraid of failing because I realize that that's the next stepping stone to help me grow in who I am as an individual and who I am in my business, and how I can eventually get to where I want to be. And that should never end, as we continue to move and we hit goals and we do things, that should never end as far as where we want to be at in life. And so as we hit goals, we lay out new goals, right? That's kind of the system and what we do. And so my challenge for you today is a couple questions. I have a couple questions that I wrote down. And one of them is, are you willing to step out of the boat today? Are you willing to take that leap of faith, to be that Peter, as you would say, and step out onto the water when you're being called to something new and something that is unknown? Are you willing to be that person to do that? And if you're not, my next question would be, what is it that's stopping you from doing that? Is it fear? Is it the thought of what others may think of you? What is that thing? And one thing that I learned from the meeting here with our business meeting this morning is Vince, our broker, was talking, and he said 92% of the things that we worry about don't actually happen. Which is an interesting thought if you think about it. 92% of the things that you worry about don't actually take place. It's kind of funny, right? We worry about things a lot of times for no reason at all. And then my next question is, are you willing to fail knowing that if you do it, it's only one step closer to being great? You know, are you willing to step out of the boat? Are you willing to take the risk? Are you willing to fail at something knowing that, hey, I'm trying this, knowing that I want to grow myself and be successful in this area or with this new job or whatever that may be? So that would be my challenge. And I'll end with this with a quote that I read. Jack Canfield once said, "Don't worry about your failures, worry about the chances you miss when you don't try." Which, let that sink in of it. Don't worry about your failures, worry about the chances you miss when you don't try. What is it that you need to try today? And remember, if you fail, it's another reason to get back up and learn from it, and then kill it the next time you go out. So that's my challenge for you guys today. Look at failure as a positive thing. Look at failure as a stepping stone to finally reaching your full potential. Love you guys. Take care. If you need anything, you know where to find me. I'm on Snapchat, FaceTime. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, whatever the case is. You have my phone number if you don't. If you need it, it's 402-917-7847 if you need help with your real estate needs. Any questions, concerns, suggestions, comments, feel free to make those. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And see, there I go with a mistake right there. I kind of got tied up and stuff and lost train of thought, but who cares, right? So yeah, I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to do what I do because I love it, and I love being able to educate and talk to you guys and challenge you, inspire you, and encourage you. So have a great day. Talk to you guys soon.